Assalamualaikum and warm greetings to the respected chair, distinguished panel members, and esteemed participants. It is a privilege to be given this opportunity to share my work at the 9th International Conference on Social Sciences, Humanities, and Technology 2026. My name is Khairul Hafezad Abdullah from School of Business Management, University Utara Malaysia. In these presentations, I draw upon a study entitled A State of the Art Review of Social Security Management Research. This presentation is structured to move from the context to contribution. I begin by outlining the background and research problem as well as research aim and review approach, followed by a brief explanation of the methodology. The core of the presentations then focuses on 5 analytical dimensions, which are the theoretical evolutions, methodological trends, key debates, emerging reforms, and knowledge gaps. Finally, I turn to the conceptual contribution, discussing implications, outline future research directions, and bring the presentations to a close. Social security systems today are no longer operating under stable conditions. Demographic aging, economic inequality, and fiscal pressures are reshaping how protection systems function. At the same time, digital technologies are transforming governance processes, introducing new capabilities but also new risks. Even so, the research landscape has not evolved in a similarly integrated manner. Studies are dispersed across disciplines, often focusing on isolated dimensions. Structural analysis rarely engage with behavioral insights, and both remain largely disconnected from emerging computational approaches. This fragmentation creates a critical gap. Without conceptual integrations, it becomes difficult to comprehend how the field has evolved and, more notably, how it should move forward. This study addresses that gap by providing a state-of-the-art synthesis. The aim of this study is not simply to review existing literature, but to synthesize it in a way that reveals its underlying structure. Specifically, the study maps the field across 5 key dimensions, allowing us to understand not only what has been studied, but how the field has evolved. This approach is particularly suitable because it allows for interpretive depth. It focuses on conceptual development, theoretical shift, and emerging tensions, rather than merely aggregating findings. In essence, the study seeks to bring coherence to a fragmented field by identifying patterns, connections, and gaps that are not immediately visible in isolated studies. This study adopts a state-of-the-art review design, which allows for interpretive and conceptual synthesis rather than purely descriptive analysis. The intention is to trace how ideas, methods, and debates have evolved over time. Data were sourced from Scopus and Web of Science, two of the most comprehensive and widely recognized academic databases. A structured search strategy was applied using relevant keywords within the field, within the title, abstract, and keyword fields, covering publications from 2000 to 2025. The screening process was conducted in stages. from an initial pool of 54 publications, irrelevant, duplicate, and incomplete studies were removed. The final dataset consisted of 26 studies, each selected for its conceptual relevance and methodological contributions to the field. Before moving into detailed findings, it is important to briefly understand the overall landscape of the selected studies. The final dataset consists of 26 publications, with a noticeable increase in research activity in recent years. This reflects the growing importance of Social Security as a governance issue in contemporary context. More importantly, rather than presenting findings in a fragmented manner, this study organizes the analysis into 5 key dimensions as depicted on the slide. These dimensions allow us to systematically understand how the field has evolved, where the major discussions are taking place, and what gaps remain. This structure forms the backbone of the result sections that follows. The evolution of Social Security research can be understood as a progression across 3 major theoretical orientations. The earliest perspective is rooted in a demographic risk. Here, Social Security is conceptualized as a structural response to populations' vulnerabilities. The focus is on stability and long-term protections. The second phase introduces a behavioral dimension. Researchers begin to recognize that system effectiveness depends not only on structure, but also on how individuals perceive and engage with it, where trust, literacy, and serving quality become critical. The most recent phase reflects a significant shift toward algorithmic governance. Social security systems are increasingly analyzed as data-driven environments, where artificial intelligence enables predictions, monitoring, and real-time decision making. What is particularly important is that these perspectives do not replace one another. Instead, they coexist, creating a layered and increasingly complex field. The methodological landscape in social security research has become increasingly diverse. On one hand, traditional quantitative approaches remain important. These methods focus on understanding humans' behavior, such as participations, trust, and also perceptions. They treat social security as a social and institutional phenomenon. On the other hand, there is a growing use of computational approaches. These studies employ machine learning and predictive models to analyze patterns, detect anomalies, and support real-time decisions making. Here, Social Security is conceptualized as a data-driven system. What is particularly interesting is that these 2 approaches do not replace one another, instead, they coexist. Nevertheless, they are built on fundamentally different assumptions. One emphasizes humans' interpretations, and other emphasizes system optimization. This methodological divergence reflects a deeper transformations in how the field understands social security itself. The field is not only evolving, It is also contested. The first debate concerns the relative importance of structure versus behavior. Traditional approaches emphasize system design, while newer studies highlight the role of trust and user engagement. The question is, which matters more? The second debate revolves around digitalization. While artificial intelligence enhances efficiency, it is also introduces ethical challenges. Issues such as transparency and fairness become increasingly important as decisions are automated. The third debate reflects a broader conceptual shift. Social security systems are increasingly integrated with public security infrastructures, particularly through digital surveillance and data systems. This raises important questions about the scope and purposes, not merely academic. They have direct implications for how policies are designed and implemented. In response to the evolving challenges discussed earlier, several reform directions are emerging. First, behavioral centered reform focus on improving how individuals interact with social security systems. Trust, literacy, and communication are seen as essential for sustaining participation. Second, there is a strong movement toward algorithmic governance. Governments are increasingly adopting artificial intelligence to enhance efficiency, predict risk, and support decision-making process. Third, we observe the developments of integrated digital ecosystem. Social security systems are no longer operating in isolations but are becoming part of interconnected data environments that enable more responsive governance. Finally, demographic insights remain important. Despite technological advancements, long-term planning still depends on understanding population risks and structural vulnerabilities. Despite the expanding body of research, several important gaps remain. The most significant is the disconnect between behavioral and computational studies. Human-centered research focuses on perceptions and trust, while computational models prioritize predictions and optimization. Yet, very few studies attempt to integrate these perspectives. Building on the identified gaps, this study proposes an integrative framework that positions social security management at the intersections of humans' behavior, institutional structures, and algorithmic governance. This reframing is important. It suggests that social security systems can no longer be understood through a single lens. Instead, they should be viewed as hybrid socio-technical systems where humans, organizational, and technological elements interact dynamically. From a theoretical perspective, these contributions help bridge the divide between behavioral and computational research. It encourages more interdisciplinary approaches that reflect the complexity of real-world systems. Practically, the framework offers guidance for policy makers. It emphasizes the importance of balancing efficiency with inclusivity and innovations with ethical responsibility. This study outlines future research directions that can be simply said develop, incorporate, and focus on. So what are they? We need for integrative models, incorporate longitudinal and comparative studies, and the last one, given attention to vulnerable populations. It is thus, in essence, the future of social security management lies not in choosing between people and technology, but in understanding how they must work together. In conclusion, this study shows that Social Security management research has undergone a clear transformation, moving from demographic and structural concerns toward behavioral insights and more recently toward technologically driven governance model. Despite this evolution, the field remains fragmented. The lack of integrations between human-centered perspective and computational approaches continues to limit both theoretical development and practical application. Thank you for your attention. This study highlights the evolving nature of social security management and the need for greater integrations between behavioral, institutional, and technological perspectives. I look forward for your questions and insights. If you find this presentation useful, I will also appreciate your thoughts and reflections in the comments. I hope you have a rewarding and enriching experience at this 9th ICSHT 2026. Thank you so much.